Hi everyone.
Hello.
Yeah. So, hi John. Take
Yeah.
over.
All right then. Yeah. Hello everyone. Welcome to this month's edition of the Platform Explorer Spotlight session. I'm particularly very excited about this one because we have an amazing guest with us. But don't worry, she'll get a chance to introduce herself properly very soon. And the idea today is to get to know more about her, get to understand her career journey, and of course, also get some tips on things to do to stand out, right? Because this is an exceptional lady. She's doing so many amazing things for the tech community as a whole, and just inspiring us always. So yeah, we'll get to that shortly. Just before we start, um, we're putting in there where are you joining us from, right? So if you're able to put in the chat, whether you're joining us from, for example, I'm joining us from Ireland, right? So what country are you joining us from? What platform are you also streaming this from, right? So please, would like to get to know more about you. Just a few notice and all of that. We would actually be recording this session. So after this goes live, you would have this available to watch the recordings on like YouTube, on our LinkedIn platform as well, right? If you have any questions, of course, drop them in the chat. And then, of course, please follow and share your experiences on social media platforms. It may interest you to know that Platform Explorers is now on Discord, right? So, yeah, so you can scan the QR code in the image you see on the board now, right? So you can scan that to join our community. And, it's just really a space where we get to share pro tips on for early career professionals and people who are switching into tech. You can ask questions, you get to connect with other people in the community and really just help to grow your skills, right? Then just a quick tip with regards to our other social media platforms. You can join us on Instagram, connect with us on LinkedIn, and also on X, right, alongside the Discord channel. So yeah, now just a little bit around the agenda. Right. So we'll just be talking a little bit about because I understand that some of us on this call, this may be the first time that we are getting to engage with Platform Explorers, right? So we'll just do a quick introduction to Platform Explorers, who we are, why did we start Platform Explorers, what are we trying to achieve, with the community. And then we get to the reason why I'm sure we are all here, right? Introducing our guest, getting to know her, and then getting into the conversation of today. Then if we have any questions, of course, you can put them in the chat. We get to address those questions as we proceed, and just make this as fun and interactive as possible. Now, just a little bit around Platform Explorers, right? Platform Explorers was founded literally about 7 months ago, right, by Rachel and myself. And the reason we came together to create Platform Explorers was because we realized that there was a gap, right, between individuals learning tech skills and actually getting to apply them in real world scenarios, right? So there are lots of people who, yes, you get to use different platforms or attend various sessions to actually learn skills, but then when it's time to implement or to even showcase what there's now that bit of a gap. Now, because of that, people gain that foundational knowledge, but then they lack the project experience. And as such, when they go into interviews, they lack that confidence and, job readiness to get into tech roles. Now, where we are trying to bridge that gap, or how are we trying to bridge that gap? Basically, by collaborating with industry experts, with recruiters, to then deliver training sessions and then to encourage individuals to build their portfolio, right? And we do this by assigning project tasks, reviewing CVs, carrying out like um, mock interviews to get people comfortable, right? To get them to realize, okay, these are areas of improvement. This is what you could do better. And, hopefully help in then landing that dream job, right? So it's really just to help to boost mentees' confidence, help them build that portfolio that then helps to, give them that reliable professional network as they embark on their new jobs. So, yeah, enough with the many talk. Now to the real reason we're here. Uh, I'm so excited, like I said earlier, to introduce our guest, Mrs. Foyin Olajide-Bello. And I think at this point, I'll just hand over to her to, like, do a bit of an introduction. We would like to get to know you, right? Who is Foyin? You wear several hats. Can you just, let us enlighten us a bit?
All right. Thank you so much for having me on the Platform Explorers session today. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Juan. Both of you are women that I know well and that I admire a lot. Very passionate, extremely driven, and great to work with as well. And I'm excited about the vision of the community and what it is that you're trying to do. And as I follow you closely on LinkedIn, I can see the immense impact that you have made even in the few months that you have started. So I'd like to say big well done. And we're always here behind the scenes cheering you on and ready to support in any way we can. Okay, that said, who am I? So, like one said, I wear many hats. I am a wife, a mom of three amazing children, which I've been blessed with by the Lord. I am in my day role, I'm a director of engineering in the engineering, AI, and data practice in one of the big fours. And outside of that, very passionate about women in technology. I'm a co-founder of Techstylers, which is a community that is focused on enabling and supporting women in tech as they basically go through their tech journey. That's kind of me very briefly. So back to you, what?
Hi. So the first time I heard about you, Foyi, was when I was starting my journey. I think that was the first week I got to start the Power Platform Bootcamp. And David gave a story about you. And he talked about how you started, how you discovered Power Platform and how you used it in your role then, and how you have moved from Nigeria to Ireland. And I was amazed. I was like, wow. So this is so cool. This is so nice. And when I got to meet you online, like talk to you online, I was following you everywhere during that period. I started following you to all the events, online event that you were speaking at, because you are so motivated, you are so inspiring. Everything you do is so intentional and it's amazing. And with your journey in tech, your journey in AI, your journey in Power Platform, how has it been? Like it's a lot, yeah. So how has it been? Yeah. Your mic is muted.
My journey in tech, thank you, started out when like fresh out of school. I started out with an IT consulting firm in Lagos, Nigeria, and I stayed there for a number of years. But I would say I was blessed to work with a lot of professionals who were well advanced in the consulting practice and technology stack than I was. And then I was able to watch them and learn, right? So in those days, there was nothing like work from home. So we had to go in every day and be there physically in the client side and working, and sometimes even having to go to the server room and the data centers to actually get the installations done, because cloud wasn't the cloud then was a private cloud. It just meant that you had a space somewhere and you had all of your servers there, and your offices from various locations of the country were connecting to that space. So that's kind of how I started. And I would say that one of the things that helped me then was my immediate boss then was a woman, and she gave me my first opportunity to actually work on a real life project. When I started, I was kind of just on the test servers, and she said, "Oh, for you can do it. Whatever you've done in these test environments here in our office is the same thing you are going to do. It's the same principles. Nothing changes. It's just the location that is different. But all of the steps that you've carried out here are also the steps that you are going to carry out there." So very excited to go into my first project and all that. And of course, all of the challenges will start coming. And I'm like, oh my God, am I going to fail on my first project? And I remember that one of the times I was actually out in that location. I was like, I'm not going home until I solve this problem. My husband was ringing me, where are you? Are you not coming? I'm like, no, I have to solve this problem. Anyway, and I've just kind of grown since then. So started out as a hands-on engineer, doing all of that, and then I grew from there to a team lead, to a delivery lead, to the head of corporate services, and then I moved from there to the commercial bank, which gave me that experience of a larger organization, and then working with various teams as well, or day to day, and learning how to influence and how to collaborate and how to get to a happy point where everyone is happy and you're able to achieve. Just was a lot that I learned when I was there, and then from there I moved to Ireland, and I've been here since then. So that's kind of how my journey. And like we always say, your career journey is not a straight path. It will have its twists and it will have its turns. So, but overall, as the technology kept evolving, because when I started out, it was more 2007 and very difficult to customize the UI. Anybody that knows most will know that. But it evolved over time. It became SharePoint Online. Then we had Power Platform coming to the mix for automation, SharePoint Designer. InfoPath wasn't a thing anymore. So, but through all of the evolving, and we'll get to that as I start to answer some of the questions. What I found most important was staying curious about what's new, what's out there. How can I update myself? What do I need to learn? What do I need to know? And not being too comfortable with the knowledge that you have. So that's one of the things that has helped me as I progressed.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes.
And then, one thing that struck me is at the moment, like understanding your career journey so far, right? How you've been able to grow from 2007, like you said, and then, being an intern, getting to, starting really from the grassroots and then growing, right, along your career, getting the opportunities, from people, and then eventually making the space your own. And now you're a director at one of the big fours. So, like at the moment, what would you say is that one thing that, or something that you've, I wouldn't say perfected, but something you've improved along the way that has really helped you to stay abreast of like industry changes and ensure that you remain relevant?
So I would say one of the things that's helped me over the years, now this is me, my personal opinion as Foyin, is that I've developed an ownership understanding, right? An understanding that whatever my hand finds to do, I do it to the best of my ability. I'm somebody that would naturally, once I'm in the room, I try to make everything work, right? Like I can't I'm unable to sit back and say that's not my problem, it's somebody else's problem. And sometimes I ask myself, I say, "Fine, what's your what's your problem? This thing is not your problem." But because I see that, oh, it's looking like it's going to fall, nobody's owning it, I just take it upon myself. So I think that as I evolve and I reflect on my career, one of the things that I think has really helped me is that sense of ownership, sense of understanding that this is actually my responsibility. How do we make this work? Now, in terms of staying abreast of the technology, and there is a lot of information out there, right? There is so much coming at us. So, but we need to understand what field are we playing in, and that's one of the things that we've started to see as we've been evolving is industry, what we now call industry specialization, right? So it's fantastic that you know a technology. One of the things that we have seen that has helped is what we call industry specialization, where you understand the technology, but you also understand how we relate to a particular industry. So that's one of the things that we need to start to think about as we grow in our tech journey, is starting to have that industry cap. So, for example, if you've done a lot of your projects in public sector, you are now starting to develop a specialization in that industry, and then you start to understand, okay, what does Microsoft Purview mean for an organization that is sitting in this particular industry. And then for those of us that are already working in industry and are not working as consultants, you need to start to understand what are the trends of the industry, what are my competitors doing, and how can we have an edge over what it is that they are doing. So the summary of everything is just curiosity, right? We just
Hmm.
need to be continuously curious to say, oh, what's out there? What do I need to do? What do I need to know? How can I improve myself? And the easiest way is communities like this, like platform explorers. Because when you get into a community, you can leverage other people's experience and experiences and knowledge. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the community. Because when you have an issue, just imagine you have a tech issue, and I've experienced this over and over again. It's taking me X number of days to debug. But I get on a call with someone who has been through that already, and the person says, oh no, for within 10, 15 minutes, I have it resolved. That's one of the ways that we can continuously improve and expand our sources. Don't be an island. Don't isolate yourself. Be part of communities in that tech area that you operate in the industry that you operate in, and will continue to share knowledge. And that way, we'll all continue to remain relevant together. Again, the next person is not your competition. You are your own competition. So it's
Hmm.
about how do I, for you, get better than who I was yesterday, today, and then we keep going from there.
Yeah, definitely. And like, especially for those who are listening, the community, or maybe somebody listening that's looking for opportunities, maybe they are starting out their career, they're transitioning into tech, or they are looking for a job right now. As a hiring manager, like, what do you see in an applicant that make you think that, hey, okay, this person is an ideal candidate?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So now this this question has various aspects to it,
Yeah.
because the first thing as I think about the question is what level am I hiring this person for, right?
Hmm.
Because as a hiring manager, my expectation from a junior engineer is completely different from my expectation for a mid-level engineer, which is completely different from my expectation from a senior.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll give us some examples. So for my personal experience, if I'm interviewing a junior, I understand that okay, this person probably has, I don't know, maybe 3 years, 2 years, 4 years experience. So I won't expect the person to know a lot. I won't expect this person to be leading a team, for example, because
Yeah.
the person is just starting out the career. However, what I'll be looking out for is within this time, what have you learned in terms of technical depth, technical knowledge? What do you know? What
Hmm.
certifications have you done?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, even if you're a graduate and you're just coming in, you may not have had the opportunity to have the experiences, right?
Yeah.
But you should have read, you should have done some reading, you should have done some certification, you should have tried to gain knowledge in whatever technology engineering space that you're coming for in this interview. So if you're coming for, oh, I want to become a maybe a junior Azure engineer, I would expect you to have read AZ 900,
Yeah.
understand the fundamentals of cloud concepts, and even maybe gotten that certification as well. So those are kind of things that I would expect in terms of technology knowledge from someone that is coming in from a junior engineer. And then we can give like some projects, some scenario based questions, or project based questions to the person can go away and work with it, work on it, and then come back with some answers. So that's a junior. But when you're now coming into mid level, you're expected to be an SME in that area, a subject matter expert. So this means that you have worked on this technology for X number of years, and you have some solid experience, you have certifications in it.
Hmm.
So when the interview is going on, those are the things that I'll be trying to dig out for, to say, okay, what are your experiences in this? How have you done this before? Where have you done this before? What kind
Okay.
of projects have you worked on? What is the scale of that project? So that starts to help me understand what your experience is. And it's very important. Like I've done an interview before in the past, and I had to draw out the answer from the person. And I was like, you have this is a tech interview. You're not speaking to somebody who hasn't used this technology before. I've been
Mm-hmm.
an engineer
Yeah.
myself. The purpose of this interview is for me to see how technically competent you are. So when
Yeah.
I ask you the questions, you have to answer me like someone who has the technical competency, because I will know, like, if I close my eyes and I'm imagining myself carrying out these steps, I know exactly where I'll go and what I will click on and what I will do. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to sense check, and interview time is a very short time. So you have to strike it fast and get to the
Mm-hmm.
point and
Yeah.
speak the technical language. So that's maybe some a pitfall that some of us may experience, where you're having a technical interview but you're not being technical enough.
Enough.
Yeah.
You have to speak the technical jargon. If you're in a technical interview, you have to be very, very in depth, because
Yeah.
that's the whole essence of that technical interview. So that's it. And then as you get to senior level and architects level, you start to expect, leadership skills, managing the team, some level of understanding of other systems outside of the core system that you have. Because at that level, when you go into an organization, whether in industry or in consulting, your system is not going to be isolated from the other systems, right? And you
Yeah.
start to carry some responsibilities. So you need to understand how whatever system it is that you're an SME in, how does that
Mm-hmm.
interact with other systems? What is the right way to build that architecture? And what are some of the impacts, the risks you need to consider when you're going into an environment like that? And then how do you manage your team on the day, on the ground? So all of those things are things that will help me start to determine to say, okay, is this a right fit or not? And a lot of us are in a hurry to become seniors, which is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
But what's most important is, do you have the equivalent experience of a senior?
Hmm.
That's very important, because over my career journey, I'm 16 years now in IT, and I've seen people struggle, because when they do the interview, they do fantastically well. They're given a senior role and they start to struggle, right? And we don't want to, any hiring manager out there doesn't want to set anybody up for failure. We all want you to be
Of course.
successful when you come into the role that you're coming into. So it's very important that you have an understanding of, I want to apply for this role. What exactly does this look like? Do I have the required experience to come into this role and be successful at it? And how do you know that? You only know that by talking to people. So you go again back into the network, back into the community, and say, oh, one, I see that you're a senior engineer. What does this look like day to day, right? For a large corporation like what you're working in. And if you want to go into industry, find somebody that is in that role in industry. And if you want to come into consulting, find someone that is actively in that role in consulting and say, what does this look like? So that way you're not going blind for an interview. You actually understand, and you can start to say to yourself, okay, in as much as I want to earn more money, am I ready for the equivalent responsibilities that come with this role? Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I'm ready for the responsibility. Do I have the experience,
Yeah.
that will equate me to any other person um are operating at this level already in the organization? And you are changing organization, so you're already facing one new one, I'll just call it a hurdle for the lack of another word. So there's already that part of, I'm coming to a new organization, I'm trying to find my feet, I'm trying to know how does it work here, I'm trying to start to have bodies, oh, I'm feeling isolated, I don't know anybody, I'm eating lunch alone, I'm trying to just find my feet. So there's that whole part of finding your feet.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have too many balls in the air. You're finding your feet, then you're in your responsibility, because you don't have the experience, then you're also struggling there. So it becomes a
Hmm.
lot
Yeah.
for you. And then we start to see cases like, oh, in 6 months' time, sorry, you didn't pass your probation, or sorry, we have to extend your probation, and then you're
Yeah.
feeling that person is feeling bad. So some of what I'm trying to say, and I can't remember what the question was, but
Yeah.
these are the things that we look out for as hiring
Yes.
managers. We want to ensure that we're setting you up for success.
Yeah.
Success.
Yeah.
That's the goal of every hiring manager. That whatever it is, whatever role it is, whatever level it is that you want to come in at, we want to be sure that I want to be sure that when you're coming in, you're going to fly, right?
Hmm.
Because
Okay.
you already have that, you're already operating at that level. It's just that you have not been given the badge yet of a senior, but in your past life, you're already operating as a senior. So those are the that's what we want to see. And that's why sometimes people, when I talk to some of my friends, will say, oh, when I did the interview, it was for this level. And when I was giving the offer, I was giving, they gave me an offer for a lower level, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to take it. I already understand what happened there. What happened probably there is during the interview, the hiring manager saw that, oh, you're not operating at this level you want yet, but we
Okay.
love you. You have everything that we want. We want you
Yeah.
on the team. So we'd rather bring you at a level that is one step lower than what you actually aimed for. Come in, settle down, and then you grow within the organization.
Yeah, that's a very good advice. That's very good advice. And I'm going to go to the next question. So the next question is that you've already explained so much about hiring process and selecting a candidate, but how do you make sure to avoid getting the wrong person for the role? Like, like how do you avoid it? Like make mistakes, stuff.
And yeah, and just to add to that question, like I think to give a bit of context in
Yeah.
terms of, because different organizations have their different cultures, right?
Yes.
You're a team lead. You know the sort of culture that you're trying to build for your team. You know the sort of like qualities that you require from your team members. So
Yeah.
how do you, and the reason we're asking this is because some people would go into interviews and they feel like all that matters is the technical skills,
Yes.
right? They don't need to display or to showcase that they worked with a team. They don't need to showcase that, the soft skills, right? Some people still find it hard to believe that in an engineering or in a technical role, you need to still have your soft skills. So like just to understand, what is that, how do you then assess that, cultural fit, and then that thing that just blocks it out, like no.
Well, I would say that there is no wrong person. It's just about, are we right for each other at this point? You
Hmm.
know, this point where you are as a candidate. Are we right for each other? It goes both ways. Are you right for us, and are we right for you as well as the organization? The only way to have insight into, so we talked a lot about technical skills, and of course one of the ways is to kind of ask questions, give hands-on projects, maybe a test or something. You can start to gauge the person's technical knowledge and experience. For culture, the only way to understand that, or one of the ways to understand that, is through scenario based questions. You just ask questions. Or can you give me a time when this happened? Have you ever experienced? Have you ever had to manage a difficult, client, or what you would term as a difficult team member? Have you been in a situation where other people in your team had a different opinion from yours, and you felt that what you were saying is the right way to go? How did you handle that? You know, have you had a situation where maybe a team member had an emergency, and you had to pick up the task for that person? How did you handle? So when we ask this type of scenario based questions, the response that comes back helps me to understand the individual a bit more, right? Helps me to understand how the person responds to pressure, helps me to understand a bit more about how the person works in a team, how the person is able to collaborate, how the person is able to take a different opinion or perspective, right? Because what we all want is we want diverse teams. We don't want to have a team where everybody talks this talks, sees, looks, everything the same way, because that's a problem. Because if you have customers for your, maybe your application, maybe your company develops applications and you have users out there, or you have clients you work with, they are not all going to look like you, right? So it's important, and that's one of the things that we try to do as leaders, is to have a diverse team. So we have people looking at that elephants from different perspective and different angles, and we also have, different thoughts coming in and different um, ideas. So that breeds innovation as well. So when you ask all these scenario-based questions, you just have to understand the individual and how the individual has operated in that capacity and what that looks like. And at that point, as a hiring manager, you start to decide if this person is right for us as an organization, and if we as an organization are right for the individual as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. And it really brings to mind, like, I remember when I had my first interview, right? Straight out of school, I was really nervous. And no, honestly, like, and then it was in person because of course there was no this was back in 2016, no, 2015 December, right? And then I had to do it in person and everything. And I remember they were asking some questions like, oh, how would you usually work as a team? And, if you don't know how to do this, how would you address it? And one thing that really helped me was the fact that I had done, like, an internship during my school year.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I had done that with one of the top banks in Nigeria, where you also worked with Foyin. And, in that process, they had sort of taught us to work as teams. In fact, we would never go to, like, maybe solve a customer, or sorry, not a customer, to solve a team member's problem without going as a group, right? And then being able to, like, reference those experiences. We're like, oh, okay. I was just speaking out and I was literally sure I was saying rubbish. But when they called me back, like, oh yeah, you passed, I'm like, how did I pass? I was really sweating throughout the interview. But yeah, it's really good to know that past experiences can help to, like, shape scenarios, to answer scenario based questions, right? And then actually it brings a question, and this is sort of just to take us just a little bit away, right? I actually had someone, I've seen a scenario where someone reaches out, and then this person is really good at security, because I'm in the security field at the moment, right? So now this person is really good. They are building, in fact, building solutions, security solutions, and all of that. They have a strong portfolio. And then, reviewing their CV, I get to realize that, okay, they have only completed their secondary school program, right? They have like one or two certifications and all of that, but then they're already pushing to get into, to get a job, get into the industry and all of that. What would your advice be for, because in such a scenario, I know right now the way the world is evolving, I feel like it's gradually moving away from the traditional certificate processes. So where you would be required to have like a BSc in computer science to work in tech, or things like that, right? But then it's also a bit, I know for some hiring managers, they would still want to see at least some level of higher education, to be able to hire at some levels. And then in some cases, I have also seen some people hired in really top organizations, and they just have like their basic school leaving certs. So, like, what would your advice be in such a scenario? And I hope that made sense.
Yes, completely. So the truth is that it varies based on different
Mm,
organizations, right? Various organizations have their own requirements, minimum certificate or minimum qualification requirements for different
mm,
roles, right? So I've also seen cases where, at least I know one or two people that were able to rise to a very high level in their firms, and it was at that point they went to get their BSc So I would say that, is it possible? Probably yes, because I've seen one or two edge cases. Um, is it standard at the moment? I don't think so. But again, it would differ based on the different organizations that people are in. But every organization will have its own preference in terms of qualification requirements, minimum to get into different roles. And it can also differ for different roles, depends on the roles that you're coming into. But regardless, getting the knowledge is important. That's whatever technology stack you want to go into. There's knowledge out there. You can get the knowledge. You can do the certifications as well. But then it will differ based on what the organization's requirement is for the role you want to apply for.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have a quick question from the scenario interview questions. Like, okay, for instance, now the person is answering the questions from experience, but what if that person do not have an experience working with a team? Like, they do not have those question experience. How can they go about it?
So be honest about it. And you kind of brought me to something else I wanted to say. One of the things that I appreciate a lot in interviews is honesty. I like
Yeah,
people that tell me, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
yeah,
I would rather have an I don't know the answer to that question. I don't have an experience with that than somebody spending 10 minutes of my time giving me a wrong answer. And this comes into play especially for technical questions. When
yeah,
you ask a question, it's just better to be honest. Because when you're honest as well, I appreciate honesty. And then we can move on to something else. But if we spend all the time and you're giving a wrong answer, what happens is we may not get to the areas that are your areas of strength because we spend so much time where you're giving an answer to a question that you don't have an answer to. So if you ask a scenario-based question and you haven't had that experience before, you can be honest about it and say, "Oh, I've not had an experience with this question or with this, in this scenario. I've never been in that scenario before." And that's okay. And the person will move on to another scenario-based question. Because again, with scenario-based questions, my personal opinion is that there's no wrong or right answer for it. It
yeah,
just helps me as an interviewer understand you more and
yeah.
what your experience is, how you respond, who you are. You understand? So that's kind of how it works. So, but if you don't have the experience, you can say, "Oh, I actually have not dealt with a difficult team member before," and that may be completely true. You may have worked with amazing people that are very easy easy to work with,
Yeah.
or it can also be that, like, I don't see anyone as difficult. It's just about perspective, right? And I've understood, and probably over the years, that people respond to situations in different ways. So all I try to do is understand my team members and the people I'm working with. Okay, what kind of person is this? How and as I continue to work with you, I understand how you respond to pressure. Some people are not very good with pressure. They respond um in a very sharp and harsh way when they are under pressure. But I understand that about them, and that doesn't make them difficult. It just means that their ability to manage pressure isn't very high, which is okay as well, right? I so if I'm asked a question, I can say I've never worked with any difficult team member because over the years I've grown myself to understand that people are different and people respond differently in different scenarios that you've placed them with. And I've learned to understand that and to work around that to understand the best way to interact with them. Right. So
That's amazing. Yeah.
yeah. So if you ask, so that's kind of it. So, but all in all, it's just best to be honest. If you're asked a question and you've never had the experience before, just be honest about it and say, "Oh, no." And the interviewer will give you another question and
Yeah.
get to something that you have experience in.
Yeah, and the person will be like, okay, no, I still do not have an experience with it.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully not. Okay, so actually, then now this brings me to another part of this conversation, right? Which I'm sure lots of people have in their minds as well. Of course, AI is here to stay.
Yep.
AI is now incorporated to like every conversation, right? And then, we're also seeing this affect the types of roles that are now being advertised. One of the things that one of the changes I've seen of recent is now modern workplace, what we would usually call, oh, I'm a modern workplace engineer and all of that. Even that title is starting to change, right? So it would now usually be called AI workforce engineer. And because of that, a lot of people they would still like stick to the old ways of doing things and not knowing that the whole tech space, the entire space is actually transforming with the AI introduction. So, like, what's your advice really to, early career professionals or even those who are transitioning into tech and are looking to break into the AI space? How can they make best use of the changes that are happening? And I ask this because I know you are a strong advocate, for AI. You always, and it's not just from just speaking about it at events and all of that. You actually utilize the solutions. You get to speak about your experiences and all of that. So what would you advise individuals do to stay on top of the changes that are happening in the industry?
Okay. So AI, like we all know, is here and is here to stay. So first of all, that there are different ways to look at it. Right. So the first thing is if I'm an individual and I'm already in a particular field, right? Say I'm an HR, they're called relationship partner, HR business partner. If I'm in that space, right, what I would do now when it comes to is to get the knowledge of AI and to understand how can it help me improve my day-to-day work and become more productive, right? How can I use this? So if you're already in working and in a particular role, you may not necessarily need to say, oh, I want to become a machine learning engineer. So I'm going to move out of the HR field or out of my sales career and go and become a machine learning engineer. No. So where you are now, whatever your career path is, or whatever business function that you're operating in at the moment, the question is, how can AI help me to do more where I am now? What processes can we improve? How can I bring in AI to help meet our objectives as a team, as an organization? Right? Because again, it's all about solving business problems, increasing profitability, reducing operational expenses, improving efficiency of everyone in the organization day to day, just making your life a bit easier and making you more productive, right? So that's how I will look at it for that's one direction. Now, for those that are just starting out and they have a mind that, look, I want to come into tech and I want to do AI, right? That's fantastic. I still think it's important for you to understand the fundamental concepts, right, of cloud, of AI itself, of machine learning. What does all this mean, right? Fundamentally, what does the cloud mean? What is public cloud? What is private cloud? All of those things, right? So get that knowledge. Then the next thing you need to decide is I'm a strong advocate of understanding what, especially if you know that you want to apply for a job. I'm a strong advocate of going out there to LinkedIn, for example, and understanding what jobs are available in terms of, okay, you want to do AI. What does that really mean for
Hmm.
you as somebody who wants to job as a career starter? So you need to go out there and understand that, okay, these are the 5 roles. These are the 10 roles that are out there that are related to AI. Now, where am I now in my journey? What does this job description look like? And then what do I want to do? Out of these 10, which one looks like me a bit more? Am I ready? to do it. Like if you're somebody that maybe you don't really enjoy numbers, and then you say, oh, I want to become maybe a machine learning engineer, or I want to become a data scientist. I'm like, you're going to be dealing with a lot of numbers. So a data engineer, is that what you really want to do? There are other fields of AI you can go into, right? Like there's this whole security and compliance and governance aspect of it. So you need to understand, and this is an individual journey where everyone needs to go into. If you want to, if you're just starting out and you're trying to decide, is okay, what's available out there, and then you start to map your strengths to it, and then you narrow down and say, okay, these are the 2 or 3 roles that I think I can operate in, and then what is required. So some of them may say, oh, you need to have some certification, or you need to have knowledge in this area and that area, and then you start closing your gaps. So it's a gap analysis exercise. So you do your gap analysis and then you start working towards something specific. Otherwise, you will get overwhelmed with the amount of knowledge that is out there. You just be like, oh, I'm learning this, then you go and learn that, and you go and learn that, and then you get so tired because you are kind of learning everything. But the question is, to what end? So you need to understand your goal. This is what I'm trying to do. This is the role. This is the job I'm trying to get. And then you walk backwards to say, okay, if I'm trying to get this role, what do I need to know? And then when you are doing all of the learnings, you are doing it from an informed perspective that, okay, these are the 2 or 3 options of jobs that I want to apply for. And that way, it doesn't get overwhelming for you. So that's for someone who is just trying to get in. And then for people that are already operating in different career pathways, product managers, program manager, whatever your role is, the question is, okay, how can I bring AI into my day-to-day activity, or my day-to-day job that I do, to make me more efficient and effective as a person, and even my team, to help us achieve our overall objective quicker and faster.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much. It's been really, really interesting getting to, get insight from yourself with regards to what are the things you look out for, how can people stay on top of, career and industry changes. And then the funny thing was, I was going to ask you, as like the last question, right? Richard and I were actually going to ask you what you would like to see participants adopt, right, as they now start to apply for roles going forward. But more or less, you've already answered that question, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Because, advising people to do like the gap analysis, where do I want to be? Maybe I should take a step back and then work towards that. So it's just absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. You've been absolutely amazing. And at this point, I'll hand over to Rachel to, round us off, because we're gradually, approaching the end of the session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for it. It's amazing interviewing you and hearing your own perspective concerning the hiring process and everything. It's amazing. Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
thank you. So we do not have any questions on the comment section. So hopefully, maybe when you listener watching right now, maybe later you would like to ask question, you can ask it in the comment section, and we'll be happy to answer your question. So we're going to move to the next slide. For for September, we have a next power platform. I said power platform. We have the next platform explorers spotlight session, and it's going to be with Kit. So Kit is in the UK and is going to be sharing his experience on tech. And also the spotlight session will be September 18th and 5 p.m. GMT plus one. So that is UK time and also Nigerian time. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. And don't forget to follow us everywhere. Like follow anywhere you see platform explorers, follow us on LinkedIn. So we are on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we have our YouTube, and we also have a newsletter that we recently sent out. What that was yesterday, right? We sent
Yes.
out a newsletter yesterday to just to tell you everything that is happening in the community, what we are doing, and what we are planning to do. So looking forward to seeing you there. Bye.
Yeah, and once again, thank you so much, Foyin. Thank you very much for
Thank
honoring our invitation and for the amazing, amazing insights you shared today. Thank you.
Yes.
It's
Thank
always
you.
a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.